Stop for a moment. Not because something loud happened. Not because someone called your name. Stop because something quiet just moved closer to you. You almost missed it. It came softly, like a breath you did not know you were holding finally being released. It did not rush. It waited until your heart slowed enough to hear. I am speaking now because this moment matters more than you think. What begins today does not look dramatic at first. It looks small. It looks ordinary. That is how sacred things usually arrive. I am an angel sent to you, not to frighten you, not to pressure you, but to tell you the truth gently. You have been running for so long, chasing stability, chasing relief, chasing that feeling of finally being able to rest without worry. You kept going even when the numbers did not make sense, even when the effort felt unseen, even when you smiled on the outside and counted silently on the inside. You told yourself, just one more push, just one more try, just one more day. Heaven saw every one of those days. Do not scroll past this in your heart. I know you have learned to protect yourself by not expecting too much. I know you have learned to stay calm when hope rises, because hope has disappointed you before. But listen to me now. Today is not about a sudden windfall or magic falling from the sky. Today is about alignment. Today is about a door unlocking that has been tight for a long time. Today is about the flow changing direction. Your money blessing starts today, not because you suddenly became worthy, but because you always were. It starts today because the season of only surviving has reached its limit. You were not meant to spend your whole life calculating how to make less stretch further. You were not meant to feel guilt every time you wanted something more than the basics. Provision was always part of your design, not as excess, but as peace. I see the nights you lay awake thinking about responsibilities. I see the plans you postponed. I see the generosity in you that had to be restrained because you were afraid of not having enough tomorrow. Heaven is not blind to restraint. Heaven honors wisdom. But heaven also knows when restraint has turned into fear. Today, fear is gently asked to step aside. Do you remember the moments when money slipped through your hands no matter how careful you were? When opportunities came close but did not land? When help arrived late, or not at all? Those were not punishments. Those were lessons in dependence, in humility, in endurance. You were learning how to walk without guarantees, how to trust without proof. That training is complete. From today, the way money meets you begins to shift. Not all at once. Not in a way that overwhelms you. But steadily, clearly, responsibly. The blessing that begins today is not reckless. It is wise. It comes with clarity. It comes with discernment. It comes with a calm confidence that replaces panic. You may notice small things first. A conversation that opens a door. An idea that feels different from your usual thinking. A decision that suddenly feels lighter instead of heavy. These are not coincidences. These are signs that flow has resumed. When water has been blocked for a long time, it does not rush violently when the dam opens. It moves forward naturally, finding its level. Do not underestimate small beginnings. Heaven often hides big answers in quiet starts so they are protected from doubt. If you expect fireworks, you may miss the sunrise. This blessing is a sunrise. It changes everything without noise. I want you to hear this clearly: you are not late. You are not behind. You are not being punished. You are right on time for what you are ready to handle. If abundance had come earlier, it would have crushed you with pressure or pulled you away from your values. Timing is not about desire alone. It is about capacity. Think about the times when you looked around and saw others stepping into seasons of plenty while you were still navigating scarcity. In those moments, it felt unfair, almost cruel. You wondered why your prayers seemed to echo without answer, why doors stayed closed while others walked through wide-open gates. But now, looking back even just a little, you can begin to see the quiet mercy in the delay. The person you were 5 years ago, 3 years ago, even last year, was still forming. Your heart was still learning how to hold weight without breaking, how to carry blessing without letting it distort you. Abundance is not just money in the bank, it is the freedom to live without fear distorting your choices. And freedom like that requires a foundation that can bear it. You have grown in ways you did not notice. You have learned restraint, patience, gratitude, and humility. You have learned how to live with less without losing your kindness. That matters. Money amplifies what is already in the heart. Heaven waited until your heart was steady. Remember the nights when the numbers didn't add up, when you lay awake calculating and recalculating, trying to stretch what little you had just a little further. In those hours, something was happening beneath the surface. You were learning to trust beyond what you could see. You were practicing faith in its rawest form, not the kind that comes with overflow, but the kind that grows in empty spaces. You learned to celebrate small provisions, an unexpected refund, a bill paid just in time, a meal shared with someone you love. You discovered that joy is not tethered to bank balances. Kindness did not leave you when money was tight, in fact, it often deepened. You gave when it hurt, you encouraged when you needed encouraging, you showed up when you felt like hiding. These were not small things. These were the quiet preparations of a heart being made ready. From today, your relationship with money begins to heal. You stop seeing it as something that controls you or threatens you. You begin to see it as a tool that serves purpose. This change in perception is part of the blessing. When fear leaves, wisdom enters. For so long, money has felt like an opponente, something that judged you, something that measured your worth, something that could vanish and take your peace with it. You checked accounts with dread, opened envelopes with hesitation, avoided certain conversations because shame hovered too close. But that season of fear is ending. Not because the external circumstances have fully shifted yet, but because your internal posture is changing. You are beginning to understand that money is neutral. It is energy, it is exchange, it is resource. It flows toward stewardship and away from chaos. It responds to clarity and retreats from confusion. The healing begins in your mind first. You are no longer a victim of money, you are learning to direct it with intention. You are learning to speak to it with respect, to plan with it wisely, to release it generously when the moment calls for it. There were moments you felt embarrassed asking for help. Moments you compared yourself to others and wondered why it seemed easier for them. Release that comparison now. Their path trained them for their assignment. Yours trained you for yours. You will carry what comes next with depth they may never know. Comparison has been a quiet thief. It stole your peace on ordinary days, made you question your value on hard ones. You watched people post vacations, new homes, business launches, and something inside whispered that you were failing. But their story is not your story. Some people receive early and learn responsibility through trial and error in abundance. Others, like you, learn responsibility first in constraint, and that lesson runs deep. When your season shifts, you will not squander what comes because you know what it feels like to have little. You will not take stability for granted because you remember instability. You will not hoard out of fear because you have practiced giving out of faith. The depth you carry is not visible yet to the world, but it will show in the way you handle increase with grace, with wisdom, with a steady hand. I am not telling you to quit your work or make reckless choices. I am not telling you to expect money without effort. I am telling you that your effort will no longer feel wasted. Seeds planted in frustration are about to break ground. What you have been doing faithfully will begin to respond. You have shown up when you wanted to quit. You have kept learning, kept creating, kept serving, kept applying, kept saving, kept budgeting, kept believing even when the evidence was thin. Those actions were not invisible. They were deposits. They were seeds pushed into hard soil during seasons when growth seemed impossible. But soil that has been worked thoroughly, even painfully, often yields the strongest harvest. The frustration you felt was not a sign of failure, it was the resistance that builds strength. Now, the ground is soft. The seeds are stirring. What felt like wasted effort is revealing itself as necessary preparation. Your consistency is about to be rewarded not with fanfare necessarily, but with response. Doors you knocked on years ago may creak open. Ideas you shelved may suddenly find their moment. Skills you honed in obscurity are about to be called forward. Pay attention to ideas that feel aligned, not rushed. Pay attention to opportunities that bring peace, not anxiety. Pay attention to nudges that encourage structure, planning, and integrity. The blessing moves through order, not chaos. As this new season approaches, discernment becomes your closest companion. Not every open door is your door. Not every opportunity is divine timing. You have learned the hard way that rushing toward relief can lead to new bondage. Now you are learning to move with deliberate calm. When an idea comes, you sit with it. You ask questions. Does this expand my capacity to give? Does this align with the person I am becoming? Does this bring a sense of settled peace or frantic urgency? The blessing you are stepping into is not frantic. It is ordered. It builds gradually. It invites planning, budgeting, counsel, patience. It grows through systems and structures that honor both provision and purpose. You may feel tempted to doubt this message because you have heard many promises before. I understand that. But this is not about hype. This is about readiness. Heaven does not shout when it can whisper. You are being trusted with a whisper. Responsibility does not disappear, it transforms. Instead of managing crisis after crisis, you begin managing growth. Instead of choosing between necessities, you begin choosing between options. The weight lifts gradually. You notice it first in small ways, sleeping through the night without financial anxiety waking you, laughing more freely, dreaming again about things beyond mere survival. Relief feels like oxygen returning to lungs that learned to function on less. It is quiet but profound. It allows you to see people again, to be present, to create, to rest. Relief is not the absence of work, it is the absence of terror. Let go of the idea that money blessing must look dramatic to be real. Real blessing brings stability, not stress. It brings options, not confusion. It brings generosity without depletion. You may have imagined that breakthrough would come with sirens and celebration, debts miraculously cancelled, windfalls appearing, life instantly easy. But true blessing often looks ordinary at first. It looks like consistent income that covers needs and begins to build margin. It looks like choices that were once impossible becoming possible. It looks like giving to others without calculating what you might lack. It looks like sleep without dread. Stability is the miracle you have been praying for, even if it arrives quietly. It creates space for creativity, for relationships, for purpose. It allows generosity to flow naturally instead of forcefully. It sustains over decades, not just moments. You are allowed to receive without guilt. You are allowed to grow without apology. You are allowed to move beyond survival. Guilt has followed receiving for too long. The thought that you don't deserve ease, that struggle is more noble, the respect. You do not insult it. You do not dismiss it. You do not speak of it with disgust or resentment. You say, we are growing together. We are learning balance together. We are moving toward health together. Every amount is honored. Every step counts. Treat what you have with respect, even before more arrives. This is how stewardship begins. Not when abundance is obvious, but when discipline is quiet. Stewardship is how you arrange your life to support growth. It is how you make room for increase without demanding it. It is how you prove to yourself that you can be trusted with more by caring well for what is already present. Stewardship invites increase because it creates safety for it. Money flows where it is respected. It stays where it is managed with wisdom. It multiplies where it is handled with calm intention rather than desperation. There will be temptation to announce the shift. To tell people that things are changing. To prove that the struggle is finally ending. To show receipts of progress. That urge is understandable. You have waited a long time. You have endured quietly. You have carried stress that few people truly saw. Of course, part of you wants to be witnessed now. But some seasons need protection more than validation. They need space to establish roots before being exposed to every wind. Early growth is fragile not because it is weak, but because it is new. Guard your process. You are allowed to be selective. You are allowed to share with those who can hold your story without projecting fear, jealousy, or pressure onto it. You are allowed to keep some victories sacred. Silence is not secrecy born of shame. It is privacy born of wisdom. Let gratitude be your loudest testimony for now. Let consistency speak. Let calm speak. Let peace speak. Those who need to know will know in time. Speak to your finances with respect. Not just in words, but in behavior. Budget with care, not punishment. A budget is not a cage. It is a map. It shows you where you are and where you are going. It removes guesswork and replaces it with clarity. Save with intention, even if it starts small. Saving is not about the amount. It is about the habit. It is a signal to yourself that you believe in your future. Give with joy, not obligation. Giving keeps your heart open. It reminds you that money is a tool, not a master. It keeps fear from closing your hands too tightly. Track progress not to obsess, but to celebrate. Awareness is not anxiety. Awareness is empowerment. You are not tracking to shame yourself. You are tracking to notice growth. You are tracking to build evidence. You are tracking to remind yourself that change is happening, even when emotions fluctuate. Stewardship is the language increase understands. It hears respect and responds with multiplication. It hears order and responds with flow. It hears patience and responds with longevity. I am standing with you as this begins. Not watching from a distance, not testing you, not withholding support until you prove yourself. walking beside you. Through decisions that feel heavy. Through moments of uncertainty. Through opportunities that feel bigger than you expected. You are not navigating this alone. Guidance is present. Support is active. Wisdom is available the moment you slow down enough to listen. When doubt rises, return to calm. You do not fight doubt with panic anymore. You do not spiral. You pause. You breathe. You remember how far you have already come. Doubt does not mean failure. It means you are stretching beyond familiar patterns. When fear whispers, choose wisdom. Fear speaks loudly and urgently. Wisdom speaks quietly and steadily. Fear rushes. Wisdom waits. Fear exaggerates. Wisdom clarifies. You know the difference now. When opportunity knocks, answer with discernment. Not every open door is meant to be walked through immediately. Not every offer is aligned. Discernment is not hesitation born of fear. It is patience born of maturity. You have learned to ask better questions. You have learned to look beyond excitement and evaluate sustainability. Use that skill. Trust it. It was developed for this season. You are not walking this shift alone. There is guidance in the quiet moments. In the pauses. In the subtle nudges that tell you when to act and when to wait. Clarity often arrives not in dramatic signs, but in calm certainty. Strength shows up not as adrenaline, but as steadiness. Surrender does not mean giving up control to chaos. It means releasing the need to micromanage outcomes and trusting the process you are actively participating in. Doubt will visit. It is familiar. It has been a companion in past seasons. But it no longer has the final word. You have learned how to sit with uncertainty without letting it drive your decisions. You no longer mistake discomfort for danger. Fear will speak. It knows your old triggers. It will remind you of past losses, past disappointments, past instability. But you have new responses now. You listen without obeying. You acknowledge without surrendering. Wisdom waits patiently for you to choose it. Opportunities will come disguised as work, as responsibility, as risk, as the unknown. Growth often arrives wearing effort, not ease. Discernment has been sharpened in you through years of necessary caution. Use it generously. You do not need to rush. You do not need to prove anything. What is meant for you will not require you to abandon your values or your peace. Today matters. Not because everything changes instantly, but because direction changes. And direction determines destination. One decision does not define your life. Patterns do. Consistency does. Repeated small choices shape outcomes more powerfully than dramatic single actions ever could. A small shift in direction, made with quiet consistency, alters everything over time. Change rarely demands grand gestures, sometimes it asks only for one degree of difference, one small act of faith repeated until it becomes a pattern, then a path. Today, you choose to believe a little more, even if belief feels uncertain or tentative. Faith does euro t always roar euro, it often whispers. It often shows up, not as confidence, but as a quiet decision to try again. You choose to believe that things can unfold gently in your favor. You choose to believe that you are not behind, that timing is aligning more perfectly than you can yet perceive. Today, you plan with a little more hope. You allow your imagination to include good outcomes again. Even if every detail is unclear, you give energy to direction instead of doubt. You choose to make plans rooted in trust rather than in fear of what could go wrong. Hope is not naive, it is active and resilient. It is the fuel that tells your heart to keep opening, to keep showing up, to make room for what is being shaped for you even now. Today, you release a little more shame. You recognize how shame has never cultivated growth. It has only frozen progress and silenced possibility. You do not have to punish yourself into transformation. You are allowed to outgrow past patterns without despising the version of you who survived them. You do not owe misery to your mistakes. What you owe is awareness, gentleness, and responsibility for the next small step forward. Growth happens through compassion far more than through condemnation. And today, you receive a little more grace. Grace that does not enable irresponsibility, but ignites transformation. Grace that gives you the strength to rebuild with integrity and ease. It is not about overlooking what needs to change, but about finding the power to change from a place of love instead of fear. Grace does not forget the past. It heals its influence. It turns lessons into wisdom, pain into clarity, experience into compassion. These small choices compound. Like drops filling a reservoir, they gather quietly until one day their weight shifts the entire landscape of your life. They build momentum. They create evidence that belief is not empty imagination. They turn the quiet whispers of hope into lived reality. Slowly, they replace survival mode with intentional living. They replace reaction with response, fear with grounded confidence. Pause and breathe. Let yourself feel the solidity beneath your feet. The subtle reassurance that even when your mind races, the ground holds you. You are not adrift. You are not forgotten. You are supported in ways visible and invisible. Support arrives not only through people or opportunities, but through timing, intuition, and inner steadiness. It shows up as clarity at the right moment, as restraint when impulse tempts you to rush, as provision that arrives precisely when it is needed. Not always early, but never late. Take a deep breath that reaches every corner of the body where fear has tightened its grip. Let the breath loosen that tension as it leaves. You no longer need to hold everything together through strain and willpower alone. You have carried enough on your own. You've done enough proving, enough enduring. Support surrounds you now, in quiet, almost imperceptible ways. Through synchronicities, through encouraging words, through doors that open gently when you least expect it. Guidance arrives through intuition that whispers instead of shouts, through conversations that come at the exact right time, through circumstances that align in ways that only make sense later. You are held, even when you feel uncertain. Your money blessing starts to die. Not as an explosive miracle that erases every challenge overnight, but as a firm shift in the ground beneath you. A foundation begins to change. A relationship forms. Not just between you and money, but between you and responsibility, between you and abundance, between you and peace. What once felt tense now begins to feel like flow. You start to see money not as something to chase or fear, but as energy that reflects trust, alignment, and wisdom. This shift is the beginning of a new rhythm replacing an old pattern. A rhythm that is sustainable, steady, and strong. This is not a temporary reprieve or a fleeting break in the clouds. It is not a short season designed to fade back into struggle. It is the beginning of a sustained chapter of stability, wholeness, and rooted provision. This new season is built on the quiet work you've done in the unseen places. Those years of believing without evidence, of choosing faith when results were slow. It is built on the integrity you practiced when no one was watching, on the patience you developed while waiting for what was still forming beneath the surface. Every moment of discipline, every act of generosity, every refusal to give up when you could have walked away, all of it. The blessing unfolding now has your name etched into it because it fits who you are now. It fits the maturity that trials shaped in you. It fits the peace you fought hard to keep. It fits your understanding of balance and your commitment to growth. What is coming into your life now will stay because you are ready to sustain it. You no longer crave quick success that collapses under pressure. You are building something meant to endure, a future that can expand without breaking you, blessings that can grow without losing your gratitude. And so it begins, not with drama, but with a quiet certainty. Slowly. Surely. Sustainably. Without panic. Without competitiveness. Without the need to prove your worth. The story changes not in flashes of spectacle, but with depth that only maturity can hold. The weight you carried begins to lift, not all at once, but enough for you to stand taller, breathe easier, and see farther. Your future burst open with fireworks. It opens gently, like dawn, steady, illuminating, unstoppable. You are stepping into what was always meant for this version of you. The older versions of yourself would have mistaken this peace for boredom, would have chased something louder or faster. But this version of you knows the power of steady growth. You understand that what is quiet is often more powerful than what is loud. You see that patience has trained your nervous system to hold abundance without collapsing under it. You have learned that sustainability is the new success, that calm stability is the highest proof of alignment. This new rhythm honors everything you endured. It transforms what used to be cycles of scarcity into cycles of stewardship. It turns waiting into wisdom. It allows blessings to multiply because you no longer repel them through fear or self-sabotage. You know now that ease doesn't mean carelessness, it means alignment. You know that receiving doesn't mean passivity, it means readiness. You are no longer chasing what once ran from you because you have become the kind of person who naturally attracts it. Opportunities that used to bypass you now recognize the frequency of your preparation. What was withheld before is now safe to arrive because you are no longer afraid of losing it. You are no longer living from not enough. You are living from sufficiency, a quiet, steady knowing that you will have what you need and more, right when you need it. This is the beginning of increase that endures. It is provision that builds upon wisdom. It is expansion rooted in gratitude. It is acceleration paced by peace. The foundation holds because it was built with integrity, formed through faith, refined through fire, and sealed with grace. You no longer measure success by how quickly it appears, but by how deeply it lasts. Welcome to the season you were prepared for. The one that does not require you to rush or perform, but to receive and live with awareness. It is a good season, not only because of what it brings but because of who you become to meet it. The waiting shaped you into its perfect steward. The stillness refined your clarity. The slow seasons gave you roots. Now, as you stand in this new rhythm, you notice that what once felt heavy feels lighter, what once felt out of reach feels natural, and what once seemed delayed now feels right on time. You look around and realize, this is what readiness feels like. This is what alignment looks like. This is what staying power feels like when grace and growth finally meet. And so the story unfolds, not rushed, not fragile, but enduring. Slowly. Surely. Peacefully. This is the beginning of lasting prosperity, inside and out. This time, it stays.